What's keeping your business from succeeding with first-party data? Is it tech silos, organizational silos, internal politics? In today's episode of Conversations with MarTech, we're talking to Alexandra Theriault of Lotame, which is now part of Epsilon, who shares what she's seen from businesses that are seeing success with first-party data. And in case you think first-party data just doesn't apply to your brand, Alexandra is going to explain how an egg company is making the most of its first-party data.
I am Chief Growth Officer at Lotame, and Lotame is a data and technology business that powers smarter, faster, and easier digital advertising. Now under our new parent group, Publicis and Epsilon, we're enabling global brands to experience the power of identity-driven marketing.
All right. So there are a number of things that can add complexity to first-party data strategies. Off the top of my head, you've got technical issues, you've got regulatory and compliance issues, you've got operational issues within every organization. What do you see as the biggest barrier to first-party data success for most organizations?
Yeah, from our experience, there's a lot of silos when it comes to first-party data that we are helping our customers navigate. Some data is living within CRM systems or loyalty databases. Depending on the nature of the business, they have mobile apps or a healthy web experience that they're driving consumers to. They're running earned and paid media campaigns, and they're trying to understand what that engagement looks like. So just helping all of those touch points that they have with consumers and prospects and bringing them all into under one roof is really challenging. And I think it's been a long journey that we've seen with brands trying to harness all of that in one place and put it to work. Yeah.
I have this theory about data silos, that data silos are just digital twins of your operational silos, that the machines don't talk to each other, but in a lot of organizations, the bigger problem is that people don't talk to each other.
I share that opinion, but I haven't heard that analogy. I like that.
So let's stick with the idea of data silos. So some of them are caused by tech. You've got things that aren't integrated together. Often because they're legacy systems, they weren't built to work together. And then there are the operational silos, like I mentioned. Do you think that businesses in general struggle with one more than the other, the data and the operations, or is it kind of unique from business to business?
I think there's a lot of commonalities. Having the opportunity to talk to a lot of CMOs at brands, the internal politics, so the operational side that you're referring to, I think is proving to probably be the unexpected challenge. They figured that the technology working together was going to be the bigger challenge, but kind of who owns the data and what availability and applications that the data can be used for seems to be almost the hairier one. But that only gets amplified when you think about larger brands that are kind of conglomerates across many different sub-brands. You could think about automotive that has tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Like even that, they operate almost completely separate businesses, but boy, do they have a wealth of data. They could all play nicely together. And then again, further amplified when you talk about global brands and what is possible in the US versus France per se, or Mexico and Japan, because each one of those markets has their own nuances to either what the data is attached to, what systems the data lives in, what maybe local compliance, requirements they need to meet.
Yeah, so that's a good segue to my next question, which is you have all these groups. Like take your auto example. Not only do you have all the brands, you might have different agencies for each brand too, right? So let's make it as complicated as possible. There's a lot of people who work on data strategy. You've got the analytics folks, you've got the data folks, you've got the marketing folks, you've got the marketing ops folks. You've also got legal and compliance folks who want to know how data is being used and how it's being shared. So Got any advice on how you avoid the turf wars and how you get all those groups to work together? Because traditionally, they don't have some of those groups don't have a lot to do with each other.
Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, start with a good partner who can help you kind of provide a proven playbook to work through that. But I think internally, it usually starts with one team. So either the motivation to unify all that data is being driven by technology or marketing, for example. It's not generally that they come at it at the same time with the same use case. So whichever team is kind of driving that motivation, I think a lot of it falls on them to really communicate the value, lay out an easy plan, kind of be the project manager internally. And it can be slow. So I think it's really important to be clear in setting expectations around timelines, what different roles are, and frankly, trying to find quick wins that they can be celebrated internally versus, it's an old adage, but I probably oversay it, crawl, walk, run. So be really clear about what the crawl is versus the walk versus the run and make those achievable milestones and make kind of value exchange along the way. So why does technology care about this? Why does marketing care about this? Why does any sort of revenue and analytics care about this? And how do I make sure that there's quick wins across all those departments versus just being kind of selfish, for lack of a better term, in what technology wants to get out of unifying the data?
Do you think it matters which team takes the lead when it comes to data? I had a vendor tell me a couple of weeks ago that the battle over marketing data has been won, and it's been won by IT.
I don't think it makes a difference per se, but I think the motivation varies drastically and the execution equally is quite different. So if technology wins, they almost want to over architect for perfection, whereas marketing is more comfortable with, a reasonable, if to probably oversimplify, let's say a brand has 10 million customers. Marketing might be comfortable with having access to 1 million of those as a nice directional guidepost to making informed decisions. Whereas technology might be like, we have 10 million customers. I want to understand every single one of those 10 million customers and let kind of perfection stand in the way of progress in just getting something in forward motion. So I find the road bumps that those two different teams commonly run into are different. And so as such, you kind of have to navigate accordingly.
Yeah. On the technology side, one of the things that is being seen is more data and then data warehouses, data lakes, whichever term or technology you want to use, sitting at the center of the MarTech stack, where maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that was the CRM or that was the marketing automation platform. What kind of impact does that have, the data being sort of central to the architecture of the stack now? Is that just showing us the importance of data, or is it actually like changing outcomes?
I think it's changing outcomes, and I think it has the promise to change them even more critically as we apply an AI layer on top of them. I feel like it's hard to get through a conversation these days without talking about AI, and I apologize for bringing it up.
We made it. We made it several minutes.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. But I do believe the AI is a really powerful feature for everybody, and it's only as powerful as that data that is sitting below the surface. So I think that is the aspiration for a lot of these technology leads within brands who are like, I should be able to understand my consumer better, not only who they are today, I want to understand who they are tomorrow. And then I also want to understand what they looked like yesterday, because that could be a predictive indicator of who my next customer could be. And you do need reams of data. You need maintenance, quality management. You also, we're talking about first-party data, but first-party data tends to only go so far. So you need other data validation points or kind of second, third-party data to fill those gaps. all of that can come into that central repository you're referring to paint a complete picture.
We talked about the auto industry before and sort of the light of how complicated this stuff can get with different brands and different geographies and cultures and rules. Are there some industries who have shown themselves to be better with first-party data strategies than others? And if there are, like, what separates the leaders from the laggards in this spot?
I'll put retail media to one side because I think they are data rich and good for them, and they've figured out a nice model that's now starting to span, beyond just brand marketing initiatives. So we'll put them over there. Good for the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world. Great job. I think whether it's automotive, whether it's CPG, there is different opportunities as far as how much direct to consumer engagement you have. But we work with Eggland's Best, and they're, a household egg brand that is doing great things with first party data, despite the fact that most people don't log on to their egg company's website or download their egg mobile app. But they have captured over 5 million first party data touch points with consumers. They've been able to do this and really organize their taxonomy of information into kind of various stages within the customer journey that they're touching those consumers. They're analyzing this to inform who makes a strong current customer versus a prospective customer, and extending it into CTV. So shifting a lot of budget off of kind of traditional linear into CTV environments. And also helping to suppress any known customers from their prospecting initiatives. So I don't want to say one vertical has an advantage over another when it comes to first-party data, because a couple of years ago, I would have said CPG brands are in trouble. I think they've gotten more creative.
CPG, the history of advertising in the modern era kind of runs through CPG, right? They were going to figure it out sooner or later.
They have to. Absolutely.
Yeah. But it sounds like maybe we're saying the B2Bs are maybe not as up to speed as the B2Cs. Would you agree with that?
It's an interesting. I do think B2C is a little bit more mature. B2B seems to be focusing more on let me think of a couple different applications, which is funny. A lot of the B2B that I used to see years ago was marketing around IP, and the IP had to do with where offices were based, or marketing through things like Captivate's one of the brands that comes to mind that has those kind of in-office elevator marketing vestibules, the videos. It was at the point of where people were going into the office. And then I'm not sure how much COVID has impacted like that centralization of those people have changed dramatically. So there's a lot of, and then a lot of it is kind of communicating to work email addresses. And we all kind of have 10 different, I will speak for myself. I feel like I've got a handful of different email addresses now. So even just remedying who I am as a consumer versus as in my work capacity, and my different browsers, and which one Google forces me to log in on my personal versus my work when I'm going on Chrome. So they're completely different profiles. It's hard to even understand who I am as a consumer versus in a professional capacity.
Yeah. B2B traditionally, we talked about, the history of CPG advertising there briefly. B2B was so tied to the phone. And when COVID came along, nobody had a work phone number.
Nope. No, it's like everyone went a little bit into the dark ages. And so I think they've had to reinvent themselves. Maybe we'll see it come back with all of the in-office mandates coming back.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mike.